They have talent. They have what it takes to be better than the best. They know what it's like to be loved by millions. And they have that something special that makes them our $1 million babies. This is their story.
Yesterday he stood up and said, I want to be a cricketer and I want to play for my country.
Oh, yaar ho gaya yaar. Second best is not good enough.
In Calcutta, he's always the quintessential Dada.
Day by day, he's performing for himself and for team.
आज वो देखो अल्लाह ने उसको ये झाड़ू की बरकत से कौन से मुकाम पे पहुंचा दिया.
He will always be a hero.
I believe that Sachin Tendulkar's greatest contribution to Indian cricket, and I've said this many times, is not the number of runs he scored, not the records that he has set, but in being the person that he is.
He's little in stature, but he can take on the fastest bowlers and the biggest, 6'6" menacing fast bowler can be hooked for 6.
He has dominated the game. He straddled it like a huge giant.
If there is any such thing as the great Indian dream, as opposed to the great American dream, then, for me, Sachin Tendulkar embodies it.
In the class, he was very quiet, very disciplined, not making any noise. If you ask any question, his head is always going down.
In anything that he would do, second best is not good enough. He's just made that way.
It's very hard to know the real Sachin Tendulkar. Is he the star loved by millions? Is he the family man who's entirely devoted to his wife and children? Is he the prankster who sometimes got into trouble at school? Is he the batsman par excellence who's unifocused to the game that he loves above all else? The one thing that seems certain is that he's all of these, and then some more.
Sachin Tendulkar was born to greatness. We go back to Shakespeare, some are born great, some become great, and some have greatness thrust upon them. In Tendulkar's case, he was born great.
The story of this cricketing phenomenon began in Mumbai. India's financial hub, the capital of Maharashtra, is a city of dreams. Millions come here in search of their fortune, hoping that Lady Luck will smile upon them, and they too will be rich and famous, known throughout the country. But there are others who are just born to greatness. Sachin Ramesh Tendulkar was born on the 24th of April, 1973. The Tendulkars were congratulated by many neighbors at the birth of their youngest son. A colony of well-known writers, including Sachin's father, Ramesh Tendulkar, Sahitya Sahvas had a close-knit set of people. Everyone knew everyone.
My earliest memories would be, he was a very fat child and long hair. Because I think there was his mother had decided not to cut his hair for a long time. So he had long curly hair, very chubby and extremely sweet.
This chubby young child, along with the other colony children, played in a small green space in the middle of the flats. One of the youngest, Sachin was a part of a trio with Sunil Harshe and Avinash Gowarikar.
I was the oldest. And the tallest maybe, but I wouldn't call myself a leader because we were like equals. But we three were the leaders of the 20 for sure. Who were the rest? So, we were the three gundas.
The trio broke up long back, with one of them having moved out of the country and another living a completely different life. Avinash is the only one who still lives in this suburb of Mumbai, and he remembers the early days very clearly.
We were like extremely close. He was 4th floor, I was 3rd floor. And we literally, as they say, grew up together. And he was very, very naughty, normal child like me, and we both, and our third friend Sunil was in the other building. We all were the same kind of genre, as they say. Naughty, hating studies, hating school. So we all got along well with each other. So it was a very normal Maharashtrian middle class, cultured Maharashtrian middle class upbringing that we had.
The older kids did not entertain this younger lot too much.
When we used to play cricket here, he used to be running in between on the pitch and things like that, trying to interfere, and we would never allow him to even come near our game. And we didn't know that after some years, it would be the reverse story.
But there was still time for Sachin's story to take a different course altogether. For now, he was the young boy with the mad curls who liked eating frog curry.
I was in 12th, so I used to do lots of dissections, frog dissections. And I used to keep frogs at home. So one day he was eating, my mother had cooked some cauliflower with large pieces. So he asked me, what is this? So I said, it's bedkachi bhaji. Means frog has been used to cook this, whatever it was. And I forgot about it. And after about 2-3 days, his mother calls my mother and says, what have you been cooking at home? Because Sachin insists that he wants that to be cooked at home. What is that bedkachi bhaji? And I don't think they cook any such thing at home.
The people living in the small, close-knit colony of Sahitya Sahwas were unaware in the late 70s that they were possibly witnessing history unfold right before their eyes. Excessively fond of tennis at the time, Sachin insisted on wearing a headband a la John McEnroe.
When we used to play, he was a small kid, probably 4-5 years old, and we used to play cricket and he used to watch with his very long hair, and that time we used to call him Sachu McEnroe.
Avinash Gowarikar too remembers his share of anecdotes.
They were showing Guide on television in the night, and when I was standing under the mango tree and Sunil and Sachin got up, that one over there, it's no more there now, and the whole tree fell down. And then Vaidyaji came down and caned us, and that's when Sachin's mother and Ajit, they took a decision that he has to do something more serious.
Sachin was growing up, and his love for the bat and ball was there for all to see. Ajit Tendulkar got his younger brother enrolled in Ramakant Achrekar's cricket coaching classes at Shivaji Park.
In retrospect, when I look back, what was a kind of a jhatka for us was his sudden alienation from us. Because what happened is, we were kids, and Ajit had the great foresight and sensibility to see the talent in Sachin. And when he said that, okay, enough, you start serious cricket. For us, it was what serious? What is serious? What is cricket? And before we knew it, Sachu was gone. As in, when I say gone, I mean gone. A guy who we were with together 20 hours of the 24 hours of the day suddenly was full time into cricket. And at that age, I'm talking for myself, I won't be able to talk for Sunil. But at that age, I was like, in retrospect again, I didn't understand. It was suddenly he was out of my life.
Not only was Sachin out of his Sahitya Sahwas gang's lives, he was also about to let slip a regular childhood. Slowly, the seeds were being sown for a tennis-loving, mischievous youngster to become one of the greatest cricketers ever to have played the game.
The fact that he developed the kind of maturity, he developed the kind of focus, singleness of purpose, that was later in life. But he was born great.
But back then, in the early years, one couldn't yet have espied this greatness. Sachin used to be a part of a small group of privileged boys who trained under local cricket coach Ramakant Achrekar. Shivaji Park is where he started spending more and more time. Ricky Kuto, someone who was his benchmate as he calls it, remembers those days well.
We met at Shivaji Park. We used to go to practice over there with Sir Ramakant Achrekar, myself, Sachin and Vinod Kamli. And then because our schools where we were studying, 3 of us didn't have cricket. So Achrekar sir told us that you'll have to leave your old school and join Shardashram so that we can play cricket over there.
Shardashram Vidya Mandir School in the Dadar suburb was famous in those days for giving an extra chance to budding cricketers along with reasonable focus on studies. The current headmaster of the school, Mr. Shirsat, was Sachin's maths and science teacher at that time.
In the class, he was very quiet, very disciplined, not making any noise. If you ask any question, his head is always going down and answering. Even today also, the same thing he was followed here in the school. But even our cricket coach and other teachers say in the ground he was a little bit mischievous.
With the days spent in Sahitya Sehvas slowly being left behind him, cricket at school was becoming his only focus. His partner in crime, so to speak, was Vinod Kamli.
Out of us 3, the most mischievous was Sachin, and Kamli was like a flamboyant. He used to enjoy his life. Just from the school days only, he was very flamboyant and all. It means for us, what he does is nothing new. From school days only, he has started, his lifestyle was the same thing.
Even back then, being flamboyant wasn't Sachin's nature. What he did possess from a very young age was determination. Determination to do well. Something his first coach remembers. After having suffered a stroke recently, Ramakant Achrekar is a man of few words. But his memories are still as fresh as though it was only yesterday that he was training Sachin in Shivaji Park. His daughter Kalpana helps in understanding his thoughts.
आया तभी से उसके पास स्ट्रोक्स थे ना कसं तुम्हाला कसं म्हणजे सचिन इंडियाला खेळेल असं अच्छा उसका गेम ही मींस उनको देख के मींस लगा था कि ये कुछ करेगा.
As the now well-known story goes, Achrekar sir, as all his students called him, used to put 1 rupee coins on the stumps as Sachin batted, daring any bowler to get his star pupil out and take the coin home. No one usually could, and Sachin often collected all the coins for himself.
मैंने भी देखा है बहुत बार सचिन को मींस डैडी बैटिंग करने को लगाते थे और अच्छे बॉलर्स को बॉलिंग करने लगाते थे और मिडिल स्टंप पे कॉइन रखते थे 1 रुपये का और बोलते थे बॉलर्स को कि जो सचिन का विकेट लेगा वो कॉइन उसको मिलेगा. तो एवरी टाइम सचिन आउट ही नहीं होता था और वो कॉइन सचिन को मिलता था.
Sachin was taking small steps towards becoming a household name. In local newspapers, slowly people started hearing about this young boy who played at Shivaji Park.
When he was 14 or 15, I used to be on the commentary circuit those days. And when we used to go to Bombay to do commentary at the Wankhede, or we were covering matches at the Wankhede, and they would tell us, why don't you come to Shivaji Park? You want to see some youngsters? There was Sachin, there was Amol Majumdar, there was people like Vinod Kamli, some of the younger players. He stood out. The locals, when he was 14 or 15, they were saying that Sachin Tendulkar is going to be there. It's a question of when, it was not a question of if.
And then something special happened. It was February 1988. Sachin Tendulkar and Vinod Kamli were playing in the semi-finals of the Harris Shield tournament, an inter-school competition. The unbroken partnership of 664 runs was a world record in school cricket till very recently. A teammate and close friend, Atul Ranade, remembers the excitement all too well.
I always tell him, thanks to you, mate, that my name is in the Guinness Book of World Records because him and Vinod Kamli scored some 664 runs for the 3rd wicket. And I had opened that innings with another friend of mine, Rupak Mule, and I got out on 42 and Vinod Kamli came in at number 3. And then Rupak got out and then Sachin came in at number 4 and those two guys just batted for the rest of the 2 days. And it was so funny because the number 5 and 6 were padded up and sat on the chairs for the next 180 overs. And it was crazy. I mean, we were roaming around the Maidan, what we call back home, and it was really funny because 2 days we were just watched them batting.
Despite this fantastic knock that everyone was talking about, Sachin had set his mind on becoming a fast bowler. His brother Ajit took him to Chennai.
I remember the first time that Sachin came to the MRF Pace Foundation, and he wanted to, along with hundreds of other young boys at 14, 15 years of age, he wanted to be a fast bowler. Well, the best advice I think I could have ever given him was that he was never going to be a fast bowler with his height and build. And so I said, amongst many others, you know, there's greener pastures for you. I then saw him about a year or so later, and he came along. I didn't know who he was. He came along as a batsman in the nets, and I said to T.A. Shaker, the head coach, I said, Shaker, I said, who is this young man? The way he bats, I've never seen anyone so young bat so well. And Shaker, in his dry way, said, you rejected him. I said, I've never seen him before. He said, no, not as a batsman, as a fast bowler.
Back in Mumbai, Sachin put his head down and got on with his grueling day-night practice routine at Shivaji Park. Soon he was playing under-15 cricket regularly. His tight schedule left him little time to play, but that didn't mean he had suddenly lost that cheeky nature.
When we were on an under-15 tour, and we were in Ahmedabad, and he was full of pranks all the time, up to something. He was just serious only when he was batting and when he was bowling, and he hated when anybody dropped catches of him, and because he himself had set such high standards for himself. But once off the field, he was a complete prankster. I bet he still is, but at that time he had applied a deep heat lotion under my eyes, and when I was sleeping in the middle of the night, I suddenly found my whole face on fire, and I got up screaming, and then he knew that what he had done, and he was really scared.
The prankster from Shivaji Park was soon a part of the big league. He was chosen to play for India. Life changed instantly. His test debut was a baptism by fire of sorts when he was hit on the mouth by a ball from Waqar Younis.
I remember we were sitting and Waqar bowled that bouncer. The stadium was full. Sachin went with that. Thunk, it hit. I remember the noise, because it hit his helmet here. Tongue, thunk, it came like this. The minute that happened, I froze. And I'll never forget Ajit's reaction. Ajit is sitting next to me. Brother. Ajit's reaction is, you know what? Good, no problem. This will toughen him.
Sachin has carried that poise and mental toughness into the rest of his career. Madhav Mantri, India's oldest test player, was the manager of the Indian team going to England. He remembers how the achievement, which should have put the young 17-year-old on a cloud, made young Sachin come to Mantri for advice.
I was sitting in the lounge after breakfast. He came and see the man. I was sitting on a sofa. They were placed there. He didn't sit on the sofa, sit on the ground, at the feet, you know. And then he said, "Sir, how did I play? Did I commit any mistakes?"
And 4 more. Again, another fine shot. And there it is. Test match 100 for Tendulkar.
Young boy, 16, getting a first test 100 in England, against England. He should have been there, but no, his life was fully dependent. He wanted to know whether he had made any mistake. I said, Sachin, what a knock you played. Any cricketer would have been proud of that knock, so don't worry, carry on. But the instinct that he still wanted to learn, century is not, we have to learn, keep on learning, that is Sachin for you.
The learning went on, as did the accolades. Along with the recognition began intense media scrutiny. People were keen to know the real Sachin. In 1995, he married Anjali, daughter of a Gujarati industrialist. Their children, Sara and Arjun, are being brought up away from the media glare, as much as possible, that is. His middle-class upbringing has been talked about many times as the one crucial factor that keeps his feet on the ground.
I think his family is very important. He comes from a stable middle-class family. He just venerated his father. And I think the two crucial people in sustaining his career off the field have been successively his elder brother Ajit and his wife Anjali. I think they have taken a lot of pressure on him. They've lent him certain stability and security.
Sachin lost his father in the middle of the 1999 World Cup, and the tension was writ large over his face. But he never backed down. He came back from the funeral and hit a 140 off 101 balls in Bristol. And that is who Sachin Tendulkar is. Never one to let anything come between him and his game, he is an example for the younger cricketers in the team. But the game that he gives his single-minded focus to brings with it unimaginable fame and, of course, brand endorsements. Sachin Ramesh Tendulkar walks onto the field and carries on his shoulders the hopes of 1 billion people. Things come to a standstill. His close friends and people who have known the little master for years follow his matches as much as possible, but not without losing some sleep over it.
I've stopped watching him bat, and I just keep asking my friends or my wife whenever he's batting, and every half an hour I keep checking up on his score, because every time I sit down with a cup of tea in my hand to watch him live, it has always happened that he's got out cheaply or he's been given a horrible decision, and the rest of the day it just sucks.
He's given him. He's given him. Oh dear.
I don't usually watch his matches because I get too tense. There are not many people who watch his match. We watch the replays usually.
I switch off the match when he's out, and that's what happened in all the 84 flats in this colony. Believe me, we switch off the match the minute he's out. My wife, ask anyone in this colony, and that's the way it is. Zero interest after he's gone.
Many people are surprised that the one who was gathering all the accolades was also someone who was an unsuccessful leader. Sachin's 2 attempts at captaincy were not very successful. In 1996 and then before Saurav Ganguly took over as captain in 2000. But this is hardly a criticism of the man. An integral part of the team, Sachin is an inspiration to many.
If I have to give an example of a human being to my children as a role model, I cannot find anybody else in this country, not politicians, not scientists, not film stars, not anybody who've conducted himself with such impeccable courage and with such impeccable honesty that Sachin has. And he's done it on his own with sheer talent and courage, and with dignity and with a very understated look.
Sachin's understated look is what worked for him. He has entered our homes through the television screen 1,000,000 times over. He may not have the regular ad personality, and yet something works.
In some ways, life is like cricket. Live it, khul ke.
When you say Sachin, you think of a guy who's 7 feet tall. And the best part of it is that he's adopted by the country as the son of the country, because he's a diminutive little fellow who's very shy, doesn't speak too well, he has a squeaky little voice. Everything that is the epitome of what you call humility. And I know for a fact, because I've dealt with him for so often, that his regard for the game is unprecedented, because there are times when he's made me change scripts for commercials where he said, I can't do this because it makes me seem bigger than the game. And I've changed the scripts because I've respected what he said.
One of the biggest brand ambassadors in the country right now, Sachin's success off the field began in 1995. He was 22 years old when WorldTel signed him on for a 5-year contract for an undisclosed record sum. But nothing has affected Sachin's simplicity. He still takes out time to go to Ramakant Achrekkar's house to take his blessings before every match.
सचिन है ना ब्लेसिंग्स लेने आता ही है. जब कौन सा भी टूर पे जाने का होगा ना तो पहले दिन आएगा घर पे, ब्लेसिंग्स लेगा डैडी का और उसके बाद ही जाता है वो. एवरी टूर के पहले. पहला मम्मी मेरी मीन्स ऐसा उसको करती थी, आरती करती थी, अभी मैं करती हूँ उसको.
With a billion people's hopes riding on his shoulders, it is a wonder he doesn't buckle under pressure.
Sachin has that bat. When he raises his bat for 100, he's speaking for 1 billion people. So 1 billion losers, 1 hero. So I think in the context of all the burden he has to bear, I mean, no cricketer has remotely had to have that burden. I mean, Bradman had to answer to 10 million Australians. Both of them had to answer to 50 million Englishmen. So that context, it is quite extraordinary that he's maintained these remarkably high standards. But when I think of Sachin's career, I am reminded of what Hanif Mohammed said about Ghafil Sobers. He said, Sobers was sent by God on earth to play cricket. And Sachin was sent by, he can do nothing else. I hope he plays till he's 40.
Having known him for over a decade now, close friend Faisal Momin is fascinated by the man that is Sachin Tendulkar.
The amount of effort and application that is required to excel at that level with so much expectation is unbelievable. So between, people like you and I would find it extremely difficult, if not impossible, to engage that hard. And therefore the level of achievement that he has achieved and hopefully will continue to go on and get more and more is sustained, dedicated, selfless effort.
Indeed, this is a man who millions of people look up to, some even worship. This is a man who can bring a nation to a standstill. This is a man who has touched our lives. This is a man who can inspire greatness, who is greatness. This is Sachin Ramesh Tendulkar.